Good evening, how have you? We get back together again for this Thursday evening, and we've been doing these updates periodically and trying to stay in touch and keep each other engaged and keep us feeling connected as much as we can. And I encourage all of us to please continue doing that in any way that you can, be it through Facebook or other social media outlets, or text and phone calls. Use your emails, use anything that you can just to stay in touch and keep people connected. This week, as we talked about last night, this is Holy Week, and it is a week that we would generally spend a lot of time together in each other's homes, in the building, gathered in the auditorium and in the gym and different classrooms and the Providence House. And this week, as we do it in our own homes, I still want to come together as much as we can and talk about these significant days. And really, in reality, our current situation gives us an opportunity to do that a little bit different than we usually do. And so I'm excited about that. Last night, we got to talk about Wednesday. And, you know, we start this week with Palm Sunday, this past Sunday. And we walk through Monday and Tuesday a little bit, and Jesus' encounters and how they change, how his verbiage changes, how you can feel the difference in the air is palpable. Wednesday, last night, we talked about how it was kind of a tipping point for the week. It was this beautiful moment of calm, where we know the backstory. We know that while this beautiful moment of calm and praise of this woman with the alabaster jar is occurring, we know that the backstory is that Judas is on the other side of town, entering into agreement to betray Jesus and get him thrown into prison and eventually killed. We know that's happening, and yet there's beauty in that calm of Wednesday night. Thursday, called different things. I like the Maundy Thursday, and Maundy, just from the Latin word, really just meaning command. Because it's Thursday, there's a lot going on. Thursday fills pages in Scripture. It is in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew 26, Luke 22, Mark 14, John 13. We read all of the accounts of this Thursday, and it feels a lot. There's a lot going on, a lot to dig into, a lot to try to dive in and just understand even a piece of. Like, the emotions are all over the place. We've seen Jesus in this triumphal entry on this past Sunday. Then we've seen sassy Jesus come out Monday and Tuesday and just really kind of in your face, and this is what it is. And Wednesday there's calm, and then Thursday we're everywhere. Thursday our stories start with Peter and John kind of securing this upper room. And it's a beautiful thing to think about. Upper room being, again, we talked about back at Christmas, we talked about these homes and how inside the home, the upper room, the upper level, you'd climb a ladder or whatever you have to get to the upper room, and that's where everyone would sleep and eat and things like that. And then the lower level, the basement if you want, but the lower level is where, you know, they would keep animals and livestock inside. And that's probably where Jesus would have been born, is on the lower room. And so now here you have this upper room. Hi, Jenna. Glad you could join us. Now you have Jesus in the upper room. And Jesus has gathered. Peter and John have secured the place. They've come here for this meal. At this meal, what you would typically have is they would recline at the table. They would sit around. This was supposed to be relaxed. It was celebrating freedom. It was celebrating they weren't running. And it was celebrated with stories and with songs that they would sing, and with food, with 4 glasses of wine. They would work through and they would talk and share and sing, and everything takes a weird and unexpected turn. Jesus has this moment. Jesus is the master. And everyone gets that's gathered here. They don't fully understand. They don't know everything. And in fact, if anything right now, they have the same vision that most of the Jews had about the coming Messiah, I think. And I think if anything, they thought that, this was kind of leading up to Jesus's, taking of the war horse and throwing out Rome and establishing this earthly kingdom that they all wanted right then and there. And so they knew Jesus was the boss. Jesus was the master. They were friends, and they loved him deeper than anyone else that they loved in their life. But he was the master. And then you have this master get the basin, fill it with water, stoop down on the floor, and start washing feet. As we have talked about before, us washing feet now is in no way comparable. It does not in any form show what this meant. These people walked dirty, muddy, nasty streets that they shared with animals, and everything was on their feet. Their feet were disgusting, and no one washed the feet of someone else other than your lowest servants. Your servants would wash the feet of someone else. Nobody did this, let alone a master, let alone the guy, let alone the one in charge. But here's Jesus washing feet against protest and embarrassment. And I mean, you can almost imagine the cringy awkwardness of this moment going on. But he washes feet. Washes everyone's feet. Washes Peter's feet when Peter's fighting. Washes John's feet. Washes Thomas's feet. Washes Judas's feet. And at the end, he reminds, you're not better than the master. You're not better than the master. So if the master washes feet, your life better be about washing feet. The rest of this Thursday goes, and I encourage you to read again, Matthew 26, Mark 14, Luke 22, John 13. But as it works its way through, we go from here, we have the cup and the bread. We have the supper. We have the garden. We have Jesus falling prostrate, begging, please, God, take this cup from me. Jesus has just established this cup with his disciples. He's just established this cup of being passed around, and this is my blood, this bread is my body, do this in remembrance of me. Like, he's just established that cup, and then immediately after he is begging the Father, God, this cup that I know is coming, if there's any way, please take it. I know you could do it, but it's about your will and not mine. But man, this is not a cup I want to drink. We move in, beyond that, we move to Judas's arrival. We see the kiss of all the things, the kiss to betray. We see Peter with the sword, ready to go commando and fight. Peter, who has been fought just hours before about, you're not washing my feet, Jesus. And finally, when he gives in, okay, fine, but you're going to have to wash me from head to toe, because if we're doing this, we're doing it all. And then you have Peter, defending himself and those around him, and then just him when he says, listen, they may all fall away, but I'm not me, Jesus. Like, I'll die with you. I'll die where I stand if I have to with you. And Jesus tells him, you're going to betray me. You're another betrayer. You're going to deny me 3 times to nobody. That Peter now pulling out the sword and swiping valiantly at this guy's head and missing, cutting off an ear. Chaos ensues and Jesus calms. It's a story of Scripture. It's chaos everywhere. And Jesus, the Spirit, God, calms. The waters were chaos and the Spirit hovered over and calm. We were chaos and God came and calm. This scene could have turned into a bloodbath and chaos, and Jesus calms. I love that he calms, and he even picks up the guy's ear and puts it back on. And then, lets him arrest him, takes him away. Peter still follows. Peter and the women follow and go. The rest of the disciples scatter. Then it ends with Peter again, in denial and denial and denial. Finally, like he's going to prove it, right? Like after the third time comes in, you got to understand, Peter's around a fire. Like he's crouched as close as he can. He's standing there with the very guards that he swung a sword at, probably. He's standing there with the guards around this building where Jesus has been taken, this house. That's who he's standing with. So it's not just that he's out with some, random slave girl asks him, but still, he denies. Another one denies again. Then the crowd comes like, no, we got your accent. You got to be with him. And he starts calling down curses, whatever, some sort of idiom there for whatever, whether it's literally like an I swear to God it wasn't, whatever. He starts calling this in and then starts cussing and cursing, like to prove, he's not like Jesus. All of this is happening. All of this is happening. But the Maundy Thursday, the Maundy of this is command. And the command was this. And all of this going on with the washing of feet, with the drinking, sharing a cup and sharing a meal. And we've talked about that. Again, like we don't even have a good frame of reference. We can't really understand what it meant to share a meal. But Jesus is washing feet and sharing meals with people who will betray him. One who will betray him 3 times and denying that he even knows him. And Peter is that inner circle. Peter's that inner 3. You've got Peter, James, and John. And Peter, and Peter, and Peter. Peter is that inner, tight 3 circle with Jesus. And that Peter denies him 3 times. Denies that he knows him. He wasn't with him. He doesn't know him. He's not like him. Look how foul I am. I can prove it. Clearly, I couldn't have been around him. Also sharing cup and food and a wash basin with Judas, who betrayed him in a very different way. And in all of that, Jesus has everyone's attention. Everyone's on edge. Everything Jesus has said, everyone's all in. They're reclined at the table. They're leaning in. He says, I'm going to wash your feet. This is a huge abruption to everything. He says, this cup and this bread, and everybody's all in. Everybody's leaning in. He says, one of you are going to betray me. Everybody jumps in on the conversation. It's not me. It can't be me. It's not this person. It's obviously not me. And so in the same scheme, he steps forward and he says, hey, I got a new command for you. And you can see it. Everybody, same as it's been with everything else he has said this night. Everybody leans in. As I said, coming in, Monday and Tuesday, the change is palpable. Everybody feels it. Everybody knows it. So they all lean in and Jesus says, I got a new command for you. Love one another. And you can see the look on the faces of everyone at this meal. Initially, I would imagine it's the scoff and the eye roll even at what Jesus has done, and then the pain and the weight of sinking in about why Jesus said it's a new command. Goes back to Leviticus, goes back to the garden, but Jesus has to call it a new command because we're so terrible at it. But that's the Maundy Thursday. In the midst of everything going on, in the midst of all the chaos and all the calm and everything that's happening, what we take away after the foot washing and the cup and the bread and the betrayals and the kiss and the fighting and the chaos and the denials is this command, this new command I give you, that you love one another. And remember that this command comes from the master who has just washed the feet, the nasty, awful, disgusting feet of his servants, and his servants who would betray him and abandon him in no time flat. That master washed those feet and then said, now go do the same. Go. Wash feet. That's how you look like me. The glory of God is what makes God God. The glory of man is to reflect the glory of God. So Jesus says, as the master, the glory of the master, what makes the master is that the master washes feet. So if you're going to claim to be about the master, wash feet. And not just the pretty already washed feet in the wedding ceremony of your beautiful bride or your handsome husband. No, you wash the feet of the people who will betray you in a hot minute. You wash the feet of those who will abandon and cut tail and run. You wash feet. This year, perhaps more than many other years, we've got a lot of opportunities to wash feet. We've got a lot of chances to wash feet. And we got a lot of reasons to not. So find ways to wash feet. Write cards. Send messages. Pray unceasingly for people. Wash feet. Let's get back together. Tomorrow, 6:30 again. We'll start back and we'll talk about Good Friday and how we can have the audacity to call such a day good. Love you guys.